This is the Team Objection Podcast for April 11th, 2023, episode 571. You saw the title. You know what's happening.
It's a Suns cast.
It's my son's birthday. That's what we care about today. Yay.
We've been very patient. We have not crammed Suns cast down your throat like we've done in the past. But the playoffs are starting. We get a Suns cast.
We haven't really talked about him since the Kevin Durant trade, which of course deserved an emergency podcast. There's never been a more important Suns cast in the last 10 years. So that one was a no-brainer, but we could have talked about his first few games, which were delayed beyond what we thought. We even mentioned in that broadcast how we were wishing we had bought tickets to that first Thunder game. Then it turns out he didn't play in it anyways. Yeah. So, sometimes things just work out anyways.
And then we wished we would have bought tickets to the second Thunder game, and then he didn't play in that one.
Right. Yeah. Then his foot decided to go a different direction from his leg.
Yeah, it was bad. That was bad.
So we have a few things to get to. Obviously, we're going to make some predictions. Now, especially, at the time Sean asked us to make predictions, it was tough because we hadn't seen Kevin Durant in uniform yet. So it was kind of just, take a stab. You could guess, obviously, educatedly, but we didn't really know how it was going to look. We've had some idea. Suns have played 8 games with Kevin Durant. They're 8-0 in those games. Most of them were against chumps, but still, they're undefeated, and that's all you can do. I saw that some people kind of downplaying that. It's I get it, but at the same time, you can't do any more than what's in front of them. You beat the teams that are yet to play. Yeah. So, we know that at the very least this team is among the list of contenders, and that's where we're going to start. So, coming into this playoffs, a lot of volatility, especially in the Western Conference. We kind of talked about it even back then. It only increased since then because, as we speak, the Lakers are playing the Timberwolves in the 7-8 play-in game. Who knows how that's going to turn out right now? The Lakers are down 11. That could have ramifications on the entire playoff bracket. But we're going to do our best. We'll go through some of the potential matchups here coming up, especially with the one we know for sure, which is the Clippers. But in general, having seen what you have out of the last month, what do you think this team's ceiling is? What do you like from the on-the-floor product? All that jazz.
Man, well, 2 things. One, I still have a hard time seeing Kevin Durant in the Suns jersey. It's just that was Photoshopped, right? It still doesn't quite click, right?
It's still weird. And we saw Photoshops done when the trade happened. Hell, we saw Photoshops done last summer when the proposed trade even leaked in the first place. And it was we'll just put Durant in the Suns jersey. Now I've watched things that are not deep faked. I've seen him play alongside Booker. And I still am, I grabbed this picture and I had the exact same experience where I was whoa, what the fuck is that?
You know what's weird? So he's played with us. Just kind of speaking of that, how he looks in the jersey and all of that. He has not struck me as he's played really well. He seems to be kind of figuring out his role in the offense and how to work well with us. But then you look at the numbers and he's oh no, he's scoring 30 points on barely any shots, super efficient. But my point is, the eye test, he's not even trying that hard. So I think we've only scratched the surface.
Isn't that what's crazy? Is Suns fans, especially when Durant was hurt, were freaking out, going, "Man, Mikal Bridges over there scoring 30 a game. He's doing really well." Well, the Nets had a worse record with Mikal than without, and the Suns went 8-0. And on those days where Mikal scored 30, Durant scored 35, and we won the game. It's we feel spoiled with how effortless it looks for him. He was the first person to shoot 55, 40, 90 in a season, which, wow.
It's interesting because I mentioned at the time of the trade how excited I was just to watch the on-the-court product. That got delayed a bit, and we still haven't seen as much as it if we would have liked. But still, even in those limited opportunities, I don't know. There's just something about it. I'm not unfamiliar with Kevin Durant. It's fucking Kevin Durant, as he would say. You know who he is. And even so, it was the same with Chris Paul to an extent. You don't know a player as well until you watch him play 82 games for your team as much as you do. I watched a handful of games with him on a national broadcast, right? But there's just something about seeing it up close. And we've seen easy buckets courtesy of Devin Booker, especially the last couple of years in particular. His game has evolved to the point where he makes it look effortless. Even as good as he is, there's just another level slightly above that Durant gets to. It looks like it's effortless. It's uncanny.
It looks like if we have to get a bucket, if we're at the end of a game, it truly is, all right, Kevin, go get it. And he will get to his spot. He'll get to the elbow. He'll get to the short corner. I've seen a number of times where he just gets the ball on the left wing, drives it to the left, stops about 10 feet, banks it in, and gets fouled. I've seen it 3 or 4 times at least.
Well, and we saw with the Dallas game, right? The play broke down, And he still got a kind of off-balance jumper that like he drained, and it was easy. And I think back to Booker, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to drag Booker now that we have Durant, but it's like I think back to the Milwaukee game where Booker turns into what's his face, point Jrue Holiday, and like that's the game. And it's like I think of like what would have been like if we had Durant. Like you don't have the same problem because he can just go over people. So it's just going to open up so much for us and for Booker too.
Well, what's crazy to me is that, as we look at the title of are we a contender or the contender? I think we are the contender, assuming health, because our starting five, what's the answer? Especially if Josh Okogie's hitting open threes, because he could get plenty of open threes. If he's hitting those threes like he did, I think in the first game, I can't remember who the very first game we had with the Rams. I think it was Charlotte. Like Okogie hit like 7 threes or something like that. It's like, oh, well, if he's hitting that, what's the answer? Because Chris Paul made more threes in the last few games than he had the rest of the season, basically.
Chris Paul is playing great, too, right now.
Yeah, Chris Paul's playing great because he's getting open looks. The pressure is off of him. And Booker's still scoring 30 a game.
So, Dave, you're right. You're right on Chris Paul, but, he also is looking more spry. And he's looking like he's 36 again.
Which is all we need.
Yeah.
We don't need 23-year-old New Orleans Chris Paul to walk through that door. We just need season 1 Chris Paul for us.
Yeah.
I want to see 2 things that have really stuck out to me, and they both actually came up in that Thunder game, which not that the viewer really cares, but we got to watch it together in
hope
Phoenix.
You're going to mention the block.
No. I have 2 other things I took away from that. There were 2 fourth-quarter adjustments that really caught my eye in that game and have stuck with me. And look, only an 8-game sample size. In that sample size, the Suns have been hugely positive with the big 4 on the floor, and that's not shocking. It's a very small sample size, right? But whatever. In that game, the Thunder made a run in the third quarter that kind of erased the Suns' first half lead, and then the Suns kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter, and they did 2 key adjustments. One was since the Thunder were trapping or having somebody come over and help either at the free throw line or the nail, they found Durant for 2 wide-open corner threes in the span of 3 possessions in that fourth quarter. And on the surface, you're like, well, how can that be the one guy you leave? And it's just because there are so many other threats on the floor. And to the Okogie point, he's also had games where he's struggled because he is a 32% career three-point shooter. So it's going to be up and down. But they also ran a play in that fourth quarter where they had him basically sneak up the back door, cut baseline, and threw an alley-oop to him in a spot where he would have been open in the corner, but the defender got caught looking anyways, and rather than just kick it for an open 3, he wasn't hitting, so they had him sneak back door, got fouled, didn't convert the alley-oop, but still, it created an opportunity. There are so many different little permutations and changes and adjustments they can make. With this much firepower on the floor, I don't know how you contain him for 7 games either.
And the thing is, I don't actually think we need this to win, but if Ayton resumes 2021 playoffs form, my God, we're gonna in that we would be the favorites if he manages to do that. I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if he's capable anymore. But if he does, we have so much firepower and defensive integrity.
Well, if he has that, the defensive side is the huge part of that because Durant is a damn good defender when he needs to be. He's long, fast. Booker's improved. Chris Paul, although getting older, is still a good defender. And Josh Okogie is, so our defensively, we're great. I want to say we finished the season 7th overall defensively, which is pretty good. To your point, Chris, about different sets we can run, I saw a few times where we'd had Josh Okogie actually bring the ball up so that we don't have someone pressuring Chris Paul and then trying to double off of Okogie or anything like that. And then all of a sudden we start with Okogie who does a dribble handoff to Paul and we attack off of that. And it's like, oh, so Paul's still running the offense, but they can't just slank off of Okogie. And it just opens up even more again and again. So again, so many options. I don't even think we've been able to tap the true potential of what those are yet.
And similarly, Okogie or whomever else, even Torrey Craig, who's a better three-point shooter, but whomever is going to serve as a place to hide a defender if you don't want them having to chase around Booker, Durant, Paul, whomever. If you have Okogie or Shamet or whomever bring up the ball, now you're involving them in the point of attack. So you can't just hide on them in the corner anymore. You're going to have to defend. And then, of course, if you have 2 different dribble handoff actions or whatever, the Spain pick and roll, now you're in the core action. Can't hide anymore, even if it's on Okogie, because you can't just leave him. You can't let him roll unfettered. You have to be doing something. So, defense is obviously king in the playoffs. Teams make adjustments. You have much better scouting. You're playing the same opponent. We know it's a lot harder to score. We have two of the best guys who can score in the half court and make a bucket with 5 seconds left. So, like, at least from that level, again, health. We're not going to beat that point to death.
It's not even worth talking
about.
It's
basic. It's certainly a risk. It scares me a little bit, no question. But, like, barring health, the X's and O's, the on-court stuff, I have a hard time seeing more than a team or two that has a chance of stopping us.
So, let's address some flaws. And I think what bothers me is, so listening to Talking Heads, I listen to the Hoop Collective. I listen to Zach Lowe for like actual insightful knowledge, and then I listen to Hoop Collective for like a bunch of idiots just yelling at each other. And so for the longest time, Brian Windhorst and Tim Bontemps have talked about how the lack of depth and the bench of the Suns is just like a huge issue. I forget who it was brought up. Do you know the Suns have something like the 5th or 8th best point differential on their bench compared to other teams' benches? And it's like, really? That surprises me. Yeah, because you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, our bench is not terrible. It's not going to be a bunch of names like we don't have like the Jamal Crawfords or like the maybe 6th man of the year candidates. But like we have a solid bench unit. Most of the time, they play pretty well for us.
Our bench unit can come in and play pretty well. We saw what happened when it's only the bench unit, as we did earlier this year when it was McHale and the bench crew. Yeah, it didn't go so well. We didn't have a great record with them. That's to be expected. The playoffs, rotations tighten. We need Craig to play well, Bismack to play, whoever the backup center is going to be. We need like 3 guys off the bench really to play well. That's about it.
Wait. Don't steal my second point. Yeah, because we have the same mind. The other thing that I've seen, and this is kind of like 2 points in one, people saying, the Suns are good, but the Clippers, they have so much depth. They're such a deep team. I'm sorry. Last year, everybody was saying, well, Suns, they're deep, but it won't matter in the playoffs because the rotations get shortened. So why aren't we saying that for the Clippers now? They're so deep. There's so many ways to attack you. It's not going to matter. You're only going to play. What's a famous Pat Riley is like, you'll play 8 players and trust 7 of them in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
So all this stuff of like, well, I don't know, they got to be worried about the Clippers' depth.
Look, the depth only comes into play if we have injuries, and that's not we're not worrying about that. And I'll just even say it. If Booker or Durant get hurt long term, it's not going to matter at this point. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Torrey Craig's been good in this bench role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's a reminder of like he was kind of just overexposed. Like he wasn't really meant to be a third option, but that's what he's been at times in this season. It's like when he can get back to playing 20, 25 minutes a game and playing against less good players and just sort of letting the game come to him, he's been really good the last 3 or 4 weeks.
He's been looking like he was in the Denver playoff series, and it's like, well, yeah, because he was coming off the bench there. Just come in, provide energy. You can be a little bit crazy because that's your thing.
You know what you're going to get from Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah.
As long as he's not hurt. It looks like he dodged a major injury in the finale there, which is great. Well, next to last game. And so, is Shamet going to play well? Probably not. It seems like a lost cause. Is Campaign going to play well? Yes.
Some games.
And some games, absolutely not. We know he's sort of mercurial and how good he's going to be. But there's firepower there. And again, if they need to be the 5th, 6th, 7th best player on a given night, that's not a problem. And partially because of the minutes limitation, but I think nonetheless, they're going to put Durant in that same spot, anchoring the second unit to start the second and fourth quarters. And if that's the case, nobody has to be that good because at the very least, once again, you have a bailout.
Yeah.
You have somebody, well, this offensive set didn't work. We didn't get things going, but well, here you go, Kevin. Here's the ball at the elbow, 4 on the shot clock. Get a jumper up. It's a 55% proposition.
Yeah.
If that's the best we can do in a possession, well, we'll survive. We will.
Yeah. It's Durant, and that's the thing to remember. Like Durant missed a lot of the season, unfortunately, but also he missed a lot of the season, and he knows how to condition himself. He's rested. He's, for all intents and purposes, healthy. So run him out there 40 minutes a night, no problem. It's the playoffs. That's what you do. Yeah. He's ready to go for the next month.
I see people talk about like the grind of the playoffs, and I get it. It's almost exclusively every other day. You don't have the couple days in between, or even sometimes 3 days in between that you might in the regular season. But you also don't have back-to-backs. So at the very least, you can get your body in this sort of a rhythm to where it's like, okay, we don't want Durant playing 45 minutes if possible. We saw what happened the last time he tried that, and his foot was on the line, and he ended up losing a series. Like, he just anybody, that's an awful lot to ask with the burden of player of Durant or Booker's stature is going to have to carry. But if it's 38-40 in the playoffs when it matters, and this is what you've been doing all season, that's not even a Suns-specific thing. I don't really want to hear that from any team.
Yeah.
And honestly, and this is a little bit of a simplistic thing, but when you think about it, when you have somebody like Booker or Durant who can go ISO and kind of get their own bucket, how about those 3, 4, 5 possessions where it's like, all right, Kevin, go get it. Book, go get it. And like, you don't have to do much in the set, and you get those little mini rests in there a little bit. And I think that does matter to an extent.
And we saw that with Chris Paul's arrival. But now, to an even greater extent, it's like, all right, well, now Booker and Durant, you can both stand in the corner, be ready to catch a pass, but we're going to run a DA and CP pick and roll this possession. See what comes off of that. And like, you guys might have to do anything this possession. Because it's not like that's just some throwaway play, because any team could do that. Like, all right, you guys chill. You know, AD and LeBron, you go chill this possession. We're going to have like Austin Reeves and Jared Vanderbilt run a pick and roll. It's like, okay, they're both decent players. But Paul Ayton pick and roll is dangerous.
I mean, like, only to the point that only one team really scares me, if I'm being honest. We have the third best odds, but like, I don't know why Boston's still I've always been down on this Boston team. I've told you guys this before. But Milwaukee obviously is very good. But then I think back, I'm like, if I remember correctly, Kevin Durant and a bunch of scrubs took them to 7 games in the semifinal with the exactly. So I'm like, how now it's Durant again, but with like much better talent around him. So how scared am I? I don't know.
I mean, okay. So I guess I want to look at the West first, because when you said, are the Suns a contender or the contender? Are we the contender? I think we are the contender. Vegas says we're the top odds right now. If I look at the rest of the West, who am I afraid of right now? The strange thing is the top seeds, 1, 2, 3.
I know.
I'm not really afraid of them.
I know. I agree.
It drives me nuts, but like, I'm not afraid of Denver in the least. Maybe I'm overconfident. Maybe I'm projecting 2021 onto this, but like, they were the 1 seed, the leader for the majority of the season, and I don't see them as a threat at all.
I agree with you. And they were the number 1 because what we said, we thought this could maybe be the case. I was right. I finally got a prediction right. I was like, they're continuity and they're solid enough. They're going to get like the best record in the West. They did it, but like, and they had all the continuity. They didn't have a lot of injuries, although they're maybe finally had one that's pretty significant. And they only won, what was it? I don't know their final record. 52 games?
I think something like that.
It's not that good for like, you had every reason to approach 60 this year.
We won 64 last year.
Yeah.
So as the number 1 seed.
So I'm not that scared of them.
Memphis, I mean, they've got talent, and they've got something. Losing Steven Adams for the whole playoffs is real rough for them, I think.
And Brandon Clark.
Especially for us, because like, he kills us, it seems like. He's a good player, but it just every time it's like, Ayton, please, God.
He struggles with those really physical guys, and there's almost nobody more physical than Steven Adams.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Kings, great story, light the beam. I'm all happy for them and everything, but no defense. And if you're going to get in a shootout with the Suns, like, they can score, you're going to outscore us? I don't think so.
I feel bad because like, everybody did this same thing that we're doing to these teams to us last year.
I know.
But then I'm like, you know what? I feel more vindicated to do it, because like, you did it to us, now we get to do it to you.
That's right.
But last year, I don't know why teams did it to us so much. And yes, I know how it turned out last year, but like, we proved that we had the playoff medal by making the finals the previous season.
Yeah,
so
well, that's true.
But that was a fluke against injured teams. Plus L plus ratio.
Yeah, whatever. And then the bottom half, this is where I start to get worried. The Clippers, I'm not scared about at all. And I'm going to eat my words if something bad happens, but I'm not scared of the Clippers in the least. Like, I'd be stunned.
Let's talk about the Clippers really quick, though.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Finish your thought, and then we'll go back to the Clippers. I think.
I'd just be stunned if this goes 6. That's kind of where I am right now. And I'll do official predictions.
I wouldn't want to play the Lakers, kind of for the same reason. They're big, they're physical, they get to the line. All like are things that we don't really like to go against.
And the Warriors, again, the ones below us, the Warriors, I worry about them because they showed last year they've got, some of the playoff stuff. Everyone seems to be healthy. Clay hit 300 threes this year, which is, good mark for him. They've just kind of got it. And so I worry about them a little bit, although I can laugh at their road record and know that we would have home court advantage over them. So that's something.
I just think like with Golden State, the precedent for a team coasting like they've coasted the whole year and then turning it on in the playoffs all of a sudden, there's not a lot. You worry that, yes, they will eventually figure it out, but they probably won't. But I still don't want to play them. I have no interest in playing them until it's like conference finals, and then we'll take our chances fine.
I actually think the Kings are a bad matchup for them.
Yeah. They are, because they can score.
I think they would have rather played Memphis, especially given all the beef and the back and forth there. But I'm not saying the Kings are going to beat them, but I think if you had to pick your opponents in that range, to me, I don't like the way they match up against the Kings.
If you're Golden State, who did you want in the first round, do you think?
Denver.
Like you did, and what I
know that sounds like blasphemy, and I'm not even really anti-Denver, but it's like drop coverage dies against teams like us and Golden State.
I'm fishing for compliments, though, because at one point last year, a lot of teams like allegedly were like, yeah, we want the Suns because they're weak. I don't think anybody wants the Suns now. I don't think Golden State was like, oh, man, we just missed the 5 seed. We really wanted to play against Kevin Durant.
I mean, I do have to give a little bit of props, speaking of the Golden State missing out on the 5 seed, of Darius Baisley with his behind-the-back step-back 3 at the end of the Clippers game, the last game of the regular season. I watched that and pointed out to my wife. I was like, that is how you lose a game right there.
And I guess I have to give the Clippers a bit of credit, which I'm loath to do. But look, Marcus Morris is out of the rotation, and Pat Bev's not there anymore, so I hate them a little less. They didn't hide from this matchup. They could have. Now, they couldn't fully because there was the risk they could fall to 7th the final day of the regular season. So it wasn't just as simple as, well, lose to the Suns so you don't have to play them. But they played everybody they tried to win, and they did. They could have dodged this matchup, and down the stretch, it became pretty clear that they were going to end up, we knew the result of the other games. So they could have. I also think, given what the league is doing with Dallas, which we'll talk about in that final bullet point, that they were. I don't know if you could just pull your whole starting lineup with 4 minutes left in that game and not incur the wrath of the league. It's not the point. The point is they wanted the smoke. They're going to get it. Without Paul George, I'm not sure what their chances are.
Now, he'll be back. Probably could be. Real quick?
What's up? Did you see the video of Ty Lue, though, on the bench asking, hey, what's the score of that game?
Yeah.
He was asking what the score
they were asking around, and they would be fools not to.
Of course.
Just to know, if nothing else, even if it doesn't affect your on-court decisions. But, it was kind of funny, but...
Yeah, I think I will say real quick, I think that had they known they could have avoided the play-in, I think Kawhi would have sat and they would have kind of tanked that one if they could have. It was just, they were like, it felt like there was all right, we're going to go because we got to win this game because Minnesota's going to win. And, oh, no, the Pelicans, so whoever they needed to lose was like, oh, we got to play. Oh, no, we don't need to play. Oh, no, we need to play. No, we don't.
Other than the Warriors, who were up by 75 in the first quarter, the other games were still sort of up in the air as far as what might happen. And I saw some people like, well, I'm sure they wish they had a way of knowing this, and if they could have done that, it's like, well, that's exactly why they all started at the same time, because the NBA wanted to at least have a couple games on that final Sunday that mattered to the end.
Yeah. So Paul George, let's say, optimistically, could be back game 2, game 3.
That's super optimistic.
I mean, if they survive, let's say they steal one from us and then he comes back, I mean, it could be problems.
I don't care about Paul George if he's playing.
That worried.
I care about Kawhi Leonard, who has been mostly himself over the last 3 months and change, looking like top 5 NBA player Kawhi Leonard. Is that enough on his own? Because, yes, the Clippers do have some decent players around him. But again, Marcus Morris fell out of the rotation. Some would say way too late because he was trash this year. So that's okay, when it's Kawhi, phenomenal. I guess I'm looking at the same trap we ran into with Dallas, where it's okay, Kawhi might be the best player in the series, akin to Luka. And then we had the next 4 or 5. But then again, we lost to that last year. But I look at the Clippers and I'm like, okay, Terrence Mann's been good this year. But I'm not losing sleep over Terrence Mann. Zubac has been great at times, and they had a nice pickup with Miles Plumlee at the break. There's pieces, they're good, but I would pick us in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I think it's gonna go. I think it's gonna be a 6-game series. That's my prediction. Suns in 6, and that 6 will stress me out still.
Well, this one sucks to pick, right? When you have home court advantage, you either have to go 5. So you win at home for the finale, or 6 where you're winning on the road.
Yeah.
So it's always tough because there's such differences in the margins where it's it seems like an easy pick, but the differences of one game are so swingy that I would say 5. That's how confident I am. But Kawhi's really good, and he does scare me a little bit.
Yep.
I would. I mean, I'd love a sweep. Can we get a sweep? Can we just sweep them?
That'd be fantastic. I was saying I don't think 6 would surprise me, to be honest. I really think we can handle them that much. So, okay, so all of us are pretty confident in that. Potential matchups. How does it break down second round? We're gonna play the winner of the 1-8 in the next round.
Probably right. Denver, but
probably. I mean, the Lakers are still down by 10 right now in the third. I mean, there's a chance that the Lakers play Denver, and I don't know if I like Denver's chances that much. Granted, I hated Minnesota's chances today to beat the Lakers, so I don't know what to make of that.
That's the thing is like, what was the joke? We're like, yeah, we're scared of the Lakers all the way up to like them. Like getting through the play-in. It's like they can't even – they're losing to Minnesota in a must-win game.
And I think that's the whole point, akin to what you said about Golden State. It's like it's not that easy to flip a switch. And at a certain point, like, yes, both of those teams had a bit of injury trouble and had some changes over the course of the season. The Warriors got Peyton back and all this – and the Lakers obviously made those deals at the deadline. All that stuff, right? But at the same time – these teams were bad for a reason. And the Lakers, for what it's worth, were 19-16 when AD and LeBron played. So it wasn't like it was just the games they were out, which was the majority. They weren't even that good when they did play.
Oh, so just like barely over 500. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't. And 2 of those wins were absolute jokes to end the season against us and against the Jazz. So they're basically a 500 team when those 2 played. So look, I'm not trying to shit on the Lakers. Again, one of the most concerning teams because if it clicks, and they've been good since the trade deadline, they're one of the biggest threats, but they might not even make the playoffs. We don't even know that for sure.
That's like, D'Angelo Russell's 1 for 9, 0 for 4 from 3. Is that good?
Yeah. It's almost like he was available for a reason.
Yeah. So then Denver would be our matchup for the second round.
Yep. Denver or Minnesota, LA, OKC.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I like
etc.
our chances. I
just Denver again and again. Am I projecting 2021 there? I don't know. They're the same team as 2021, just with Jamal Murray, and we basically have the same team from 2021, except we replaced Jay Crowder with Josh Okogie and Mikal Bridges with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So
it's a similar problem where I don't know how the Nuggets play enough defense. And I know their stats were better this season. Some of that I think is because of guys like Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope instead of some of the trash they were running out there like Facu Campazzo. Like that helped in the margins. But at the end of the day, Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. are going to be getting 35 minutes a game plus, and neither one of them can defend for shit.
I forget who it was. It was maybe Zach Lowe being like, I feel bad for the nightmares Jokic is going to have when the Suns put him in every single action throughout the night, and oscillating between Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. It's like it's just going to be a nightmare for him.
Whoever Michael Porter Jr. is guarding, like we'll just run the pick and roll. Whoever is guarding Michael Porter Jr., whoever's guarding, whoever Jokic is guarding. So it's just, hey guys, let's run this action here, and then everyone will scramble, and boom, everything opens up.
If Jokic plays drop in any pick and roll alignment, it's automatic mid-range jumpers all day, and we have 3 of the best to do it. If he comes all the way out, blow by him.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Now look, Jokic is phenomenal. He presents all sorts of problems for us on the defensive end, even though we were good defensively, and Ayton's usually up to the task of at least making things difficult, which is about all you can do with Jokic. But at the same time, I'm like, how are we not going to score 130 a game?
We did 2 years ago, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't stop us defensively at all 2 years ago, and here we are.
Now, the tricky part is in the conference finals. Again, you can't really project it at this point. The timing of this was always going to be awkward because, like, we don't do the show on, like, a Saturday, which is when we're going to know all the 1 through 8s, right? But, like, it could be the Warriors. It could be the Lakers. Maybe Memphis or Sacramento gets out of that side. That's harder to start to pick. But, like, no matter who it is, I can look at each team and be like, okay, I can see a road through that. Even the Warriors, I'm like, okay, like that's a tough challenge. And if they're gelling well enough, they've made it that far. Like, let's see what happens. But I'm also like, I know people are like, well, this is the best way it could have fallen because, again, Clippers first, which most people aren't too worried about, and then Denver or somebody. But then who knows? And I'm like, look, at a certain point, you have to beat good teams to win a title.
Yeah, exactly.
You just do. You're not going to coast through 4 rounds. You're going to meet somebody who's playing really well. So, like, let's let the chips fall where they may, and we'll see.
The only bad part is if we have to play Golden State, you would rather play Golden State with still needing to get Andrew Wiggins into shape than maybe in the conference finals he's gelling. But then like same thing with the Clippers. Well, then maybe we don't play the Clippers till later, and then the Clippers have Paul George back, and so it's like like you said, At some point, you got to play a good team.
And the Warriors have to make it there without Wiggins to get him up and running. So they run into the same issue. So I don't know. I don't feel I feel like the Warriors are the toughest for us in the West overall. But I still don't think that, despite what a great media matchup that would be, I think the media could sell the shit out of that matchup. Oh, Kevin Durant playing in the Warriors again in the playoffs for the first time. Great. I think we got him. I really do. We have people long defenders who can stay on their 3-point shooters. We got scoring. I think we can handle them.
I've been higher on the Warriors the most. That was my preseason pick last year, that they were going to way exceed expectations. They ended up winning the title. Mm-hmm. If this is the one area where I think losing Mikal hurts us, because he was so good on Steph. And while I think Okogie will still do pretty well in that matchup, that's not the type of player he guards well. He's a lot better on wings than I think he is smaller shooting threat point guards. I'm not saying we can't handle Steph to a certain extent, again, as much as anyone can, because he's Steph Curry. But that's the one thing that gives me pause with them. But then again, I look down at the rest of that roster, and I'm like, Jordan Poole was trash again this year. Clay, good for him for making it back to where he did, especially after the first month of the season, because he still didn't look like himself. But Draymond's taken a half step back. Wiggins is a big-time question mark. And then the rest of that roster got worse. I'm glad they got back Peyton. It's a cool story, and he probably will give them something meaningful in the playoffs. But, like, that bench, you want to talk about lack of depth. That's a lack of depth.
Kuminga, though.
Yeah, who's been fine. Like, Kevon Looney's an old hand, even though he's, like, 26. Yeah. But like, it feels like he's been there for like 15 years. So, like, you know what you're going to get from him. Again, I'm not trying to shit-talk the Warriors. I think they're really good. But I'm not like, oh, man, I don't know. We're not going to be the favorites against them. I'm like, it's like 60-40 us probably. So let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I memean, again, we're the favorites for a reason in Vegas. We're the betting favorites. It makes sense to me that we are the favorites right now. So that's where it is in the West. That's our matchups breakdown in the West. The East, I mean, who the hell knows? It's
whatever.
Probably going
to
to
be...
I don't
give a shit about the... Whoever makes it to the finals will be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious. I mean, but Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, probably.
I wish we had seen the Bucks with Durant in the regular season matchup a few weeks ago, just to see what it looked like. And maybe it's better we didn't. Maybe that's, it's the chance to get revenge for 2 years ago, and all the fates align, and we send Al McCoy riding off into the sunset with a title or something. But
that'd be great.
In theory, the thing that they've always been able to do is sort of fluster us, because they have 3 really good defenders in Giannis, Holiday, and Lopez. But with an extra wing like Durant in the mix, now it's like, okay, well, who's going to guard one of Durant or Booker? Like Grayson Allen? I don't give a shit. Chris Middleton, who's a good player, but defense is not his calling card. So, like, in theory, between that and the fact that Lopez still prefers to drop himself, although they're having him come up closer to the point of attack now, we kind of match up with them better than we did 2 years ago. But I also have nightmares of Giannis getting 17 foul attempts per game, and that's not going to have changed in any way. We're still extremely soft when it comes to ref whistles. So, like, the Bucks are by far the team that scares me the most, which is odd because we only can run to them in the finals. But they're the one team that really gives me pause. Not the Celtics, certainly not the Sixers, because Ayton usually does okay against Embiid. Just the Bucks.
Well, and, the thing no one's talking about is, like, Harden's going to lay an egg until he proves finally that he's not going to do that in the playoffs. But we have how many playoffs where he has sucked? So the Philadelphia doesn't scare me. Mm-mm. Now, if they make it to the finals, it means Harden has finally figured it out, and maybe they'll scare me a little bit then. As of right now, I don't.
Yeah, at this moment, no. Because, again, there's some decent depth in that rotation, but there's also, like, look, we love PJ Tucker in this house, but I'm not looking at a matchup on paper going like, oh, man, PJ Tucker's on that opposing team. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we play our best, I think we can win. That's where it really comes down to, is that if we are playing on all cylinders, if we are firing properly, if we're executing properly, we have the most talent 1 through 5, and I think we can win.
And it's funny because, like, health, of course, right? But I look at it and say, I feel like this is the best chance Chris Paul has had in years to not get hurt in the playoffs, because of all that. He doesn't have to have as much wear and tear. He's maybe not involved in every single play where, like, he's getting banged up. It's like sometimes they treat him like an off-ball, like, shooter. Mm-hmm. Great. Less wear and tear on you. Awesome. I love it.
he's shown the last couple weeks that he can hit that pretty reliably. I mean, he's not really known as a 3-point shooter, but he's a damn good shooter. And when he's open, he's going to hit him for the most part.
And it's been really interesting. Again, we obviously stand Devin Booker in this house. Forget the PJ Tucker part of it. There is just a different gravity with Durant on the floor. There are some, in 6 of those 8 games, there were a lot of times where teams were just doubling him the second he touched the ball.
Yep.
And look, we've watched for years, everybody trap Devin Booker, but like this is different because Durant gets it on the catch at the elbow and teams go, oh my God, and they send a defender immediately. So you get action off of that right away. But the difference is now you're swinging it to Chris Paul for open looks. You're swinging it to even Devin Booker for a situation he has not been familiar with for years, except for the time on the Olympic team. Like, I don't know. Thinking about it from like a basketball junkie point of view, I'm like, I don't know how it doesn't work unless somebody gets hurt.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. And it's funny seeing people trying to, the national media trying to talk us down. I saw something where Kendrick Perkins, what an idiot, and I want to say this just to laugh at him, truly to laugh at him. This is it. Yeah. Is that he said something that was like how the Suns are the favorites in the West, and then 2 days later he said and the Suns can't win the West or something like that.
Let's get it clear. In the span of 24 hours, he said the Suns were the favorite in the West, the Lakers were the favorite in the West, and the Clippers were going to beat the Suns.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it was.
In the span of 24 hours on ESPN television. So I thought about bringing that up, and then I wasn't going to because fuck him and it's not worth the oxygen. But yes, that did happen. It goes to show you he's a fucking idiot and he's not worth listening to.
Can't stand him. Yeah, it's fine.
But he's emblematic of a bigger problem nationally. And look, I mean, like 538, who's always loved the Celtics, and they were right to. They made the finals, but like we have a 3% chance according to them. 3. That's like 10th best, 538.
Oh.
Who has that ELO model where it has team's current strength, projected strength, all that stuff. 3%. I think that was the 9th or 10th best of all the playoff teams.
How does that take into account the fact that we have an 8-game sample size of our actual starting lineup? Because I think that plays a huge factor.
Yep. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we keep tiptoeing around the injury thing, but I'm like, other than maybe like Sacramento, who among the playoff contenders could you even say was spared injury trouble this year? Because we just rattled off everybody. The Nuggets, the Bucks were without Middleton for like 2 months. Like you could go down to every team. The Warriors had their injury problems. Like everybody, maybe the Celtics.
Boston, yeah.
But even Robert Williams was in and out of the lineup all season. Like so they had like Brown and Tatum healthy most of the year. But everybody's going through it now because that's the modern NBA. So it's like, are we a little more injury prone? Sure. I'm not going to sit here and deny that, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be, can we catch some breaks? Because we're good enough to win it as long as we don't have something go against us.
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
predictions.
Yes, because it normally is what ended, but I still want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened at the end of the season. Yeah. So, we got to lock in predictions. We usually do. At this point, it sounds like we're all picking the Suns to win the West. So the question is, will you pick the Suns to win the title, and how much will it hurt you when they don't?
So, how much am I picking us to win the title? Yes. I have been holding over my wife, who misses Mikal Bridges probably more than she misses me when I go out of town. That, look, it'll all be worth it when we're holding the trophy. That's what it's going to be worth, is that when we're holding the trophy, all of it will be worth it. We've got a win-win for Al. So will it hurt if we don't win this one? Yeah, this one will hurt more than just about any other time, maybe even more so than last year, although I hated how last year ended.
I will say, I pick us as well. I don't think it's for me, it's not going to hurt as much as last year. And maybe even the year before. I think adding Kevin Durant at the very end of the year and you make the finals, I'm still happy with that.
Knowing we have him for 3 years.
Yes. Thinking we made it to the finals with 8 games with the guy. I think better look out for next year. And I don't feel the same like in 2021. It felt like we had the golden path to the finals and things just broke right for us and then we couldn't do it. And I was like, that was a great chance we let slip through our fingers. Last year we had the horrible breakdown against Dallas. The fact that the breakdown happened, the fact that it was against Dallas, that was extremely painful. All of it. It was like too much almost. If we make the finals and we don't win, I'm like, that's disappointing still. But then you look and you're like, Devin Booker, 2 finals in 3 years. Like, it still feels good. And there's still hope.
It's interesting, the expectations, right? Because 2 seasons ago, it felt like everything was breaking our way, like you mentioned. I'm not even just talking like the opposing teams or the injuries, but just the value-oop and the closeout game from Booker against the Lakers and the whole Chris Paul closeout game against the Clippers and the first 2 games of the finals. And I've told this before on air, but like after game 2, I started allowing myself to think it was happening because it just felt like the cards were aligning. Everything was great. That's not the same, but we're going with it anyways. Last year, it never felt right.
Yeah.
Especially, and we're talking like a month left in the regular season. It started to be like, I don't know about this. And then the Pelicans series was a massive struggle. Booker put up 30 in the first half, fist bumped a baby, and then died. And then against the Mavericks, we don't need to talk about that shit. We did an hour-long coping session about it. So that was the extreme opposite, where we had high expectations. None of them came through whatsoever, so you felt very disappointed. I'm kind of with you on this one, Sean, where it's like, maybe it's just I don't get my hopes up too high, but I'm like, I don't feel that pressure to win this year. Just because it depends on what happens with Chris Paul, but like the rest of this roster is pretty sustainable.
Yeah.
We know Ayton, Booker, Durant, Campaign, a few others are going to be around. So like it doesn't have to be this year. And if we did make it to the finals and lose to a really good Bucks or Celtics team, I mean, again, a bummer. I really want to win a fucking title, but I'm not going to be beating myself up.
Yeah.
So that said, I'm picking the Bucks to beat the Suns in the finals.
You are?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
That's fair.
If I'm wrong, I get to be really excited that I'm wrong, and you can dunk on me all you want to.
But I appreciate that because I'm always like, you look at picks like bright side of the sun. It won't shock you that we're the picks to win the finals there.
I know.
So I appreciate a little bit of like, honestly, trying to be as unbiased as possible. I think we're going to struggle against the Bucks. I think they might beat us. I appreciate that.
They're really good.
I still hope you're wrong. You hope you're wrong.
I sure do. And I think he's not going to win MVP, and I think there's a whole conversation about that we won't get into, but I think Giannis is the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if that happens again and he beats our ass again, I'm just going to have to be like, well, generational talent. He got us again, I guess.
Best player in the league in a league that, in this league. So, the way that it works with fouls and free throws and the way that the games are called, yeah, I mean, it's like tailor-made for him and what he's doing. And it's annoying, and I kind of hate it. I'd much rather like Steph, where it's like, man, just the skill is through the roof. Giannis, he's just like a big dude who slams into you, and I kind of hate him. But
we have that with Durant, though. Like the guy who has so much skill that just oozes out of him and just makes shots. So we have that kind of guy we can root for.
And we saw a couple plays down the stretch against the Thunder that reminded you. I mean, he loves that pull-up 3 in transition from the right wing. I mean, it was the left wing where he put the Cavs to bed in the finals. But in general, just those pull-up 3s in transition where you're like, that's an audacious shot, and it goes in. You're like, oh, right, Kevin Durant, right, yeah. Because we don't want J.R. Smith taking that shot, but Kevin Durant, you're like, oh yeah, right.
So, in thinking of how this season ends and the predictions, I keep coming back to why I think I'd feel so disappointed. I want to be able to store it on my phone, on my computer, hearing a choked up Al McCoy say the Suns are the champions of the NBA. And sign off for the last time. That idea is so romanticized in my head that I want to just manifest it happening. And if it doesn't, I will be disappointed in that. I worry about the future a little bit because Chris Paul is going to get older. He has shown decline over the past couple of years, so he's not the same. I watched highlights of the finals a couple of years ago. I was like, holy shit, where'd that guy go? Because it's different. He's gone down as he gets older, and I get it. So I worry about a 39-year-old Chris Paul next year. I don't know. I'm just a little worried about it. I think we've got a great shot at still continuing. And also, I love the idea that if we win this year, hey, great, we got a good shot next year too. So
let's get greedy. I mean,
I do.
I thought about that too.
And so that's why I feel like I'd just be really, really disappointed. And it comes down to mainly Al McCoy. That's what it comes down to.
That's a great point.
And Booker gave him that signed jersey when they won the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago, and I had that same thought. Now he's retiring, so it is different this time than it was 2 years ago, but Al McCoy was old as fuck 2 years ago, too. And I had the same thought where I'm like, again, all the stars are aligning. It's perfect. We're going to send off Al McCoy, and he's going to, after 50 years, he's going to get to watch the Suns win a championship. Well, that's the one thing that won't be around next year. We have a lot of reasons why this team could definitely be a contender for the full duration of Durant's contract. Al McCoy is not one of them. And as dumb as it is just to pin it to that one thing, you're right. The romanticism part, I'm 100% with you on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. A little bit less on Chris Paul, because there were times this year where we've said, like, should we be starting campaign? And, like, almost preparing ourselves for, like, a Chris Paul decline. So the fact that he has had a little bit of a resurgent, I'm like, bonus. I've already mentally sort of moved on from him a little bit. So if he can give us something, awesome. Let's do it. But, like, that doesn't worry me quite as much because we have Booker and Durant, and that's the main point of that. And Ayton, for what that's worth.
And I feel like if it wasn't for LeBron James, Chris Paul's decline wouldn't look as bad as it does. What LeBron is doing is, we've talked before, I'm not a huge LeBron guy, but, like, it's uncanny, superhuman.
Who's still left from the draft, the 2003 draft? Is anyone in the league left from 2003 draft anymore?
Like, they were showing his stats from 2009 compared to this season, and they were almost identical. And that's 14 years ago. And he's still, again, he's coming off the prime for sure. He's declining. But at his age, to be doing what he's doing, to have that kind of impact. Because if Chris Paul is the only old guy in the league doing it, because it's not, as much fun as it was watching Udonis Haslem score, 24 points or whatever in his finale, like, he's a joke. He's an assistant coach that's masquerading as a player. So him being 40 and playing doesn't mean anything. I'm not trying to soften the blow. I'm just saying, in general, I think Paul's gotten a little bit too much flack for his decline when we knew this was coming. Mm-hmm. We sort of hoped that it would be a little less steep than this. But it's not like he's unplayable. He's an average to above average NBA starter still at his age.
We would all agree he's better than the Jason Kidd that won a championship, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, Jason Kidd, he was able to spot up threes, shoot threes, and that was about it on that Dallas team.
They got by with a really good Rick Carlisle scheme and a lot of, like, savvy veterans, like a Sean Marion, a Tyson Chandler, who were all good defensively, and they're like, all right, well, we'll get that part covered on defense. Dirk, could you just go ahead and get us some buckets on the offensive side? Okay, great, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick quiz. We're talking about LeBron 2003. What year was Amari Stoudemire drafted?
2001?
2002. He was drafted 1 year before LeBron James. Amari's been out of the league for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah, he died.
Like, his longevity is insane. I thought that was kind of
and Sean Marion was the year before that.
Yeah.
Sean Marion turned to dust a decade ago.
Yeah. LeBron is still doing what he's doing. It is amazing.
We love Sean Marion in this house. Okay, just to be clear.
Yes.
I will say, by the way, just because this is happening live, I will say the Timberwolves have not shot a free throw in the second half. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Yet they're still up by 5 with 6 minutes left.
I'm pretty sure it was 12-7 free throws in favor of the Timberwolves at halftime, and they have not shot a free throw. But they're still down by 7 as we speak, with 6 minutes left. So we'll see what comes of that. It doesn't really warrant mentioning. Although by the time we wrap up this last little bit here, we may have an idea what happens in that game. So we'll see.
I am so happy, and I want to put this into the universe, that fuck Dallas. Like, if anyone happens to be a Dallas fan and are thinking, well, like, I hope maybe we'll get a little bit of compassion because, like, things went so bad for us. Like, you have to feel a little bit bad, right? No. I actually I want more bad things for you.
There is still that 22% chance they lose that pick after all these shenanigans.
I hope you lose the pick. I hope Doncic. No, I don't want him to request a trade. I want him to be stuck with your trash-ass team forever. Sign Kyrie, too. So you use all your cap space on those two losers. You have nothing. You miss the playoffs again next year. I hate you. I don't want anything good for you. I don't feel bad at all.
The thing that I like about the idea of Kyrie leaving and them losing their draft pick is the fact of they don't have cap room to sign anybody else, as far as I know. Nobody major, at least.
Yeah.
So, great. They lose Kyrie, and they've got nothing.
Well, because Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bertans don't come off the books till the year after, if I'm not mistaken.
And like if you have an enemy, but then they get cancer, and you're like, ooh, I kind of feel bad. Like, it's not worth that. Great. No, Dallas.
Yeah, post Lucas smiling at Devin Booker one more time, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yeah,
so if you came here for rational Dallas takes compared to everything else where we try to take a measured approach, you have come to the wrong place.
Yeah.
It was stunning to watch when I think it was March 6th, I think the date was, where the Suns played Dallas, somewhere around that date. And we won by, Kevin Durant hit a huge bucket at the end, got the rebound off of Luka missing the bunny. And everyone's like, whew, man. I guess we'll see how this goes when they meet again in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to when they meet in the playoffs. Bally Sports even posted a picture of Durant holding the ball at the end and said, "Till next time." And then they retweeted it and said, "Never mind."
Yeah, just exceptionally petty stuff.
Yeah.
You had the Photoshop of them putting the ticket to Cancun over Booker's head that Luka was smiling at.
Yep.
So, and all of that, I ate that up. I think I gained like 10 pounds this last week, just eating up all of the Schadenfreude.
I love it.
It was incredible to watch the downfall of them barely losing that game against us, where they had a good shot of winning. They really played us tough. To just they couldn't buy anything. They had Kyrie and Luka passing it back and forth, not knowing how to handle the end of the game. And it's like, oh, they're gonna figure this out, and they kept losing. And then they had a shot to go to the playoffs still and make the play in. Nah, we're done. Screw it.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know more about basketball than Jason Kidd or the Dallas coaching staff. Like, we all think we have these grandiose ideas and know the game at a deep level. I can't understand for the life of me why the plan was, after watching Luka get trapped at half court for the better part of like 4 seasons, they stashed Kyrie in the corner instead of having him be the outlet for those traps.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't get it at all, because now instead of him being the outlet and having some like creative downhill 4-on-3 stuff, he's stuck in the corner. Luka can't get him the ball from a trap, and they're like, all right, let's have, I don't know, fucking Josh Green make plays out of this situation, or like, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
But Luka's not having fun anymore. It's not fun. You know, he has to grow up at some point, right? And I hope he doesn't, because I want them to be bad forever. Him personally, I'm going to hate him no matter where he goes. I hope to God one day he doesn't somehow end up on the Suns. I can imagine it, but you never know. I just hate him. And he has been able to skate by because he puts up big numbers. I'm not even going to say he's great at basketball. I just say he puts up big numbers because he does. But he has to grow up. Like, there is no business getting 60, flirting with the suspension for that many tucks in a season. What are you doing?
And they even rescinded one to keep him in the lineup that he absolutely deserved, because like every game, he was crying every single possession. And look, we're a fan of teams that have, or a team that has Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and they can certainly get on the referees, probably more than most in the league. It's just something different about Luka. It's not only my hatred blinding me to it. You can see fans of neutral teams, just like he is complaining every time, and now the Mavs are playing 4-on-5 as a result.
His own fans
are
like,
the Mavs
Luka,
fans.
Get back on D, you idiot. Because he's arguing. They're like, oh, cool. 5-on-4.
That was probably my favorite thing of everything was everyone, especially last year, was all, man, Luka's going to be better than Larry Bird. I heard legitimate Bill Simmons saying things like that, and I'm like, holy shit, like, you understand what that means. Larry Bird, top 5 player probably of all time, and Luka's gonna be better. I hate the style Luka plays. This year has just been wonderful to watch, where it's like, oh, you mean the ISO ball, I'm gonna just, you guys go stand in the corner, if I feel like passing to you, I'll pass. I hate that style of play. I hate that heliocentric model. None of it looks good. None of it wins. I don't like it, and I'm glad to see him fall off the face of the earth. And it couldn't happen to a shittier guy.
Yeah,
franchise.
Maybe you guys aren't as petty as I am. I feel like no matter what happens this season, I won a little bit because of Dallas.
Sure.
Like, I will always kind of be fond of this season because of their complete meltdown.
We were really hoping the Lakers or the Mavs would miss the playoffs. One of those two things happened.
I gotta be honest. I was hoping more for the Mavs too.
So was I.
And I don't like the Lakers at all. But man, I hate that Mavs team.
I also rooted against them vehemently against the Warriors last year. Like that.
Oh yeah.
The getting stomped in 5 was also cathartic then, especially coming off the Game 7 where we couldn't say anything. We played like absolute horse shit. But still, watching that in the next round made me feel a smidge better.
Yeah, but don't you want the team that beat you to win the next? No.
No.
Die in 5.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, the rumors of us having COVID, I don't know. It seems kind of weird. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. It's done. They beat our asses. We deserved it. It doesn't matter. But there is one word that is going to matter, and it's an onomatopoeia, and it's tick, 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 because Luka's already 24. This is going to be his 6th season in the league coming up. And now you're running out of ways where you can say, get Luka more help. Now, that roster was trash outside of like him and Kyrie, really. There's a couple other okay role players there. So, like, I'm not trying to just absolve him, like, completely. But I'm also not going to give a lot more excuses anymore because Jalen Brunson got better when he left. Kristaps Porzingis got better when he left. And who cares about Kyrie? He's going to be the same before, during, and after when he was with the Mavericks. We know what he is.
What was their record with Kyrie? Does anybody know? It was bad, but like
with Kyrie and Luka, or with just Kyrie?
From the time they got Kyrie, I know it was a little bit of injury and all that, but like from the moment they made that trade,
it was something like 9-16,
and
they were, I think, 3-1 in the games Kyrie played that Luka didn't. So it was even worse with both of them on the court together.
Yeah, and you just look at that team, and you're like, a team with Kyrie and Luka, almost no matter who else is on the team, should be enough to at least make the play-in. Like, it should be. But Luka sucks, man. It's just like, he's awful to play with. And the fans are like, what can we do? Because I trolled the message. I don't troll because I don't leave comments, but I definitely read a lot. And they're like, what can we do? Can we sign a petition? Is there some way to stop Luka from taking step-back threes? Just like, dear God, anything but the step-back threes. And we were watching the OKC game, while OKC, they were playing Atlanta, and looking at the fans, they're like, it's coming, step back three, and it's going to be a miss, and we're going to lose, and that's exactly what happened. He's terrible.
Yep. Looking at the picture that you have, the Timberwolves still winning by 3 at the moment with 3.5 minutes left, so it's kind of weird to see Rudy Gobert, who they gave up the franchise for, basically, who gave up not more than we gave up for Kevin Durant, but a similar package that we got Kevin Durant for. And he punches his teammate, gets suspended for the playing game. I don't know what Minnesota was thinking, and I feel bad for him in a sense because I like Karl Anthony Towns. I like Anthony Edwards. I like a lot of the guys on the team. I can't stand Rudy Gobert as far as just some of the stuff he's done over the past few years, and it's just crazy to see a meltdown to that proportion.
He's a piece of shit.
You can't trust the Timberwolves. They've shown us time and again that they don't know how to clutch things out. We might see it again tonight. We'll see. Lakers are running out of time. Nobody can score in the fourth quarter. The only reason the Lakers have scored is fucking free throws. So who knows? I don't think we're going to be on the air when this game goes final. Hell, maybe we'll just watch it together off the air. But yeah, to your point, I put this in there because I talked to Sean off air, but it's like, man, if I were a Minnesota fan, I would be beside myself.
And you know what? It's bad no matter what, because so what I heard is like Slow-Mo was like, you're a bitch. Fuck you, bitch. And just being very aggressive in a way kind of deserved the punch. But just, I mean, look at the dysfunction just all the way around, whether you blame him or Rudy Gobert. And you kind of, there's kind of like a line when you actually physically punch your own teammate. It's all bad. And then you have Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah.
Punching, breaking his hand.
Yeah. And he thought it was just like a plastic curtain. Like, I don't think in the heat of the moment, he thought he was punching something that wasn't going to fight back. But still, both those things happening in like a 7-minute span. It's like, I don't know. I mean, if there's one place that might be more cursed than us, it could be Minnesota. That sports franchises are also not like the Vikings have been an absolute train wreck.
Has the Wall lost in those situations?
No. The Wall has claimed far bigger stars than McDaniels. I mean, LeBron probably broke his hand punching something a few years ago. We know Amari did that back in his Knicks tenure. Like, yeah, the Wall doesn't lose. Like Father Time, the Wall never loses.
I mean, we had like a Robin Lopez thing where he broke a glass door, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? But, that at least is kind of satisfying. You shatter it, and you're like, yes. But a wall. I've hit a wall before, like not that hard, and it sucks. Yeah. Even that sucked. How could you punch it full on?
And not to mention, Clippers had a little scuffle, just a little, nothing that big on the sidelines, but just a little bit on the sidelines the other day too with Bones Highland.
Yeah.
Who's to me very overrated. Like, he's got talent, but people were like crowning him in ways that I didn't understand.
There's a reason why a player his age was available for virtually nothing. Yeah. It's because he might be the worst defender in the league.
And I just there's so many things out there that just you see other teams who have dysfunction, and I think function and camaraderie will get through. And the teams that have it out of the Warriors, the Suns, the Kings, I think Memphis sure as hell doesn't. With the way Jaw's been back and forth, they seem to like each other, but Dylan Brooks is a bitch. So, I just don't see that working out for teams that have dysfunction as they go through the playoffs.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about anything you can find in the margins when the talent really gets to be nearly equal, that's the stuff that can matter. The intangibles, camaraderie, teamwork, like that stuff can make a difference if there's a razor thin margin in a series. So, Minnesota was probably screwed no matter what, but man, I was telling Sean, I was like, if I was a Wolves fan, I would just be livid.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to look back on like the Suns, they got completely embarrassed. One of the worst all-time playoff losses in history. And
one of the most inexplicable, really.
And everyone was like, oh,
what?
Look at their dysfunction. They're yelling. I'm like, compared to a lot of teams, I'm pretty proud of the way. Yeah, they got a little heated. So would I if I'm losing by 50 with everything that was happening.
I would argue they should have been more heated. I remember that night I was thinking, like, they just kind of took it. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And they're fine. And so I think there was a lot of smoke about nothing. But also, like, our guys had pretty good composure. Devin Booker almost flippantly was like, are you guys okay? Like, to the fans.
Right.
And I was like, a little bit like, fuck you, Devin. But also, you've moved on. And that's probably a good thing.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Got to come back next season. Can't let it eat at you forever.
Yeah.
If anything, I would want him to be more upset about the finals than that.
Yeah,
because that was close. That was on the cusp.
So
timeout Lakers. Neither team has scored in about 17 minutes.
So
and tie game.
We got a steal. So Anthony Towns gets a steal, and it turns into an Anthony Edwards 3-pointer.
They've been alternating shooting threes, just jacking up threes the last 2 minutes. I'm not exaggerating.
That's the shit where like Ant is great. It's IQ sometimes. It's just like it just pulls your hair out. Memphis has a lot of players like that too.
He's not been good in this game for what it's worth. He's 1 of 11.
Awesome.
So
great.
I'm gonna have to slow down that hype train a little bit as well. Just imagine if he had an average game, it would be in as the 7 seed.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes of it.
Shoot those free throws, so that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see what that looked like. All right, well, before we go, I guess we did this last year, so you should do it again. But who are you locking in as the Suns beating in the finals?
Milwaukee. I mean, like, unless something happens that we can't predict. Austin Reeves turned it over. Yes, I love it. Nothing makes me happier than that. Yeah, Milwaukee.
I'm gonna lock in Suns beating Boston.
Yeah, you and I had Boston last year before things went terribly south.
Dave, why Boston?
They've got depth. They've got defense. I mean, they made the finals last year.
And I will say, even though I picked the Bucks to beat us, that if there is a team that's going to beat them, it is Boston, who has a very good record against Giannis the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would
match
love
up
that
well
to
against
happen.
them in particular.
We match up way better against Boston than Milwaukee. So.
I kind of think so too, especially because, like, again, I mean, Tatum took a step up this year. He was very, very good. Probably going to be 4th in MVP. Jaylen Brown was very solid, but like Marcus Smart had kind of a down year. Again, both Williams, one for injury reasons and one for inconsistency reasons, have been all over the place. Their guard rotation, I guess their wings, like Brogdon, White, Tatum, Brown, those give me some pause, but I'd rather play them than the Bucks.
Yeah, me too. Easily.
Yep, I agree. Because the Bucks just have that Giannis guy.
Phoenix over Boston in what?
6. I mean, I think 6.
I'm going Phoenix over Milwaukee in 6 because I think people are like, well, it has to go 7 because it's going to be that competitive. And I'm like, I think if it goes 7, I don't know if we win that one. So, like, if we're going to win, it needs to be in 6.
Yeah, because it won't be at home.
Durant, though.
Yeah.
I think that's the equalizing factor is that I would agree with you. But with Booker, with Durant, we've got the 2 aces. And I think we have that guy who I think you can truly rely on to go, oh, shit, we need a bucket. Here you go. Go get it.
Yeah.
It's there.
All right, well, there's our predictions.
Bucks and 7.
Okay. Well, you kind of like put my point away.
I got to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, the Bucks will have home court this time if the rematch happens. So you guys should want to pick them, the Suns at 6, and I should want to pick Bucks and 7.
But Dave has. Oh, you don't have Bucks anyway.
And I'm also like, I really like. It's so stupid because we will take a title by any means necessary, no matter what. But it's like I'd like to win it at home. Obviously, it'd be a 0.3% worse if we won the title in Boston or in Milwaukee. Again, I don't care, but if I'm going to script it, that's what I want.
And against Milwaukee, right? Like, it makes it a little bit better. A little bit better.
A little bit.
To win it over them. It's like the revenge.
It completes the story we talked about that we thought was happening 2 years ago.
Yeah. And then they can really make a movie.
Yes. All right, that's the end of the episode. As you can see at the top, we'll be back next week. Thank you for joining us. In between episodes, you can find us at our website. Yes, they turned the ball over. ObjectionNetwork.com or YouTube.com/ObjectionNetwork. We're going to watch maybe one possession of this game. You can watch it as well. Go check it out.
Are they tanking and I'm missing it? Like what?
Yeah, they're trying to avoid the Grizzlies.
Backcourt turnover. I think they are tanking actually.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.